Thank you very much. So it's my great pleasure to be back in South Korea. Unfortunately, this time it will only be virtual. So actually, I was in South Korea a year ago, actually presenting this ethical guidelines on trustworthy AI, which I have been part of developing. So I really enjoy being helping and presenting the work that we're doing. So today, what I'm going to talk about is a major Swedish research initiative called the Wallenberg AI Autonomous Systems and Software Program, abbreviated WASP. So this is an initiative that was started in 2015 and with the goal of doing the basic research now in order for Swedish industry to be competitive in the future. So the purpose of this program is really basic research, but the basic research which is useful in the long run for industry. And this started out as a 5-year program in 2016, but has then been extended a number of times. And currently, the program is intended to run until 2030. So in total, almost 15 years. And the current total budget for the program is 5.5 billion Swedish kroners, which is a little bit more than 500 million euros. And most of this funding comes from a private investor, private foundation, the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation, but also with co-funding from Swedish industry explicitly, and also from the universities that are participating. So, as I said, the overall goal is basic research for the benefit of Sweden and for the benefit of industry. And this program has 4 main components. We have a research program with the best researchers in the field. And I really think this is important. It was mentioned previously that Sweden wants to take the lead when it comes to, for example, applied AI and leverages the opportunities of digitalization and so on. And I really think that in order to lead in application, you also need to lead in research because innovation will be driven by the latest research. And the second major instrument is the graduate school. So one of the major purposes of this program is to educate at least 400 PhDs in the areas of AI, autonomous systems, and software. And at least 100 of these PhDs should be what we call industrial PhD students, which means that they are PhD students employed by a company, doing their PhD at the company, but of course in collaboration at one of the host universities. And currently we have about 300 PhD students in the program. So it means that after about 4 or 5 years, we are actually close to reaching this already. The third part is a demonstrator arena, which I will be talking more about, but this is really the purpose is to integrate research done by the researchers in more applied settings, but also to bring new research problems from industry to academia. And the fourth part is recruitment. As was mentioned, Sweden is a relatively small country, and we really need to bring in talent to complement the excellent talent we already have in the country. So therefore, this program will recruit more than 60 researchers to Sweden, and each of these researchers will basically be funded to establish new research groups in Sweden. And this is on all levels from assistant professors up to full chairs. And currently we have somewhere between 25 and 30 of these people already in place. And one of them is Virginia Dignam, whom you might have heard about before. So she's one of these WASP chairs. And of course, she is very influential and very bringing a lot of this responsible AI to Sweden and to WASP. So as I mentioned, the program is very broad in the sense that we're covering AI, autonomous systems, and software. And this means that there are large numbers of both strategic areas which are kind of where we want to apply this and put everything together, but also a number of thematic areas which are more along the boundaries of research topics. So we can see that overall this research program covers a very broad range of topics, basically everything from the mathematical foundations and theory. So actually we have a particular part of the program which is related to mathematics and the mathematical foundations for artificial intelligence and machine learning, which I think is both very interesting, valuable, and actually quite unique that we have people from the mathematics departments heavily involved in this. And then we have software technologies and methods. We know today that basically all innovations have a significant software component, and that in order to do these innovations, we need to understand how to build software and how to develop the tools to make us develop this software faster and better. And then we have a number of aspects related to autonomous systems, but also to AI, which means that perception and sensing, how do you perceive the environment, control and decision making, how do you influence, how do you take this information, make decisions, and act. For example, this ABB robots that were shown previously is really about both perception and control and decision making. Machine learning and knowledge representation are today one of the two most important areas for actually achieving this. For example, computer vision is one of those areas which have basically been revolutionized by the use of machine learning. That 20 years ago, there were other types of techniques. Today, it's very much dominated by machine learning techniques to be able to recognize objects, to track objects, and so on and so forth. But also when it comes to, for example, reinforcement learning and learning how to control a robot to do certain things is very much related to machine learning. And then we cannot forget people and humans. So I would argue that AI, and the purpose of AI and also actually autonomous systems is really to help people. So it means that we have to put people in the center, which means that there will always be people involved in these systems. Even if you have an autonomous system such as self-driving car, of course there will be passengers in the car, and there will also be people outside the car that this system needs to interact with. So therefore this interaction, both interaction between autonomous systems and people, but also between autonomous systems itself, and collaboration, how do we work together, is really central themes. So taking together a broad array of topics. So I mentioned this industry connection is really important, and one of the goals of the program is really to provide benefit for Swedish industry and of course industry in the rest of the world as well. So therefore one of the major instruments for this, besides the industrial PhD students, are these WASP research arenas, which are basically arenas where researchers and practitioners can meet. And one of these arenas that we have is in public safety, which is basically centered around search and rescue, where you have a number of different types of unmanned and manned vehicles, such as unmanned aircraft systems and unmanned boats, and people working in control rooms, trying to rescue people as fast as possible. So basically the situation is that there has been a boat that has been had a problem, and you need to rescue these people, and you need to localize them using this unmanned aircraft, and then you need to send out the boats to actually rescue the people that may be in the water. And this is really a industrial academia collaboration. So in this case we have Saab, Axis and Ericsson, including collaborating together with researchers to do this. So it's really about, for us researchers, to demonstrate our research in real applications, but also to inspire and drive the research grounded in industrially relevant problems. So this is one of those very important things. Another very important thing is infrastructure, and when it comes to AI machine learning, one of the important infrastructures is computational infrastructure. Therefore, as part of this WASP program, there's also been a push for building a Swedish infrastructure for AI. So as part of this WASP program, the Wallenberg Foundations are investing in building up this infrastructure. So basically it will be a large GPU-based system, which I actually think just went operational a few weeks back, located in Gothenburg, and there will also be a larger, another large data center for doing this kind of computational infrastructure, which is essential for AI machine learning these days being built up. Sorry. So far I've been talking about this, what we say, engineering aspects, these technical aspects of AI and autonomous systems. But as Anders mentioned, we want AI to be for good. I would also add that AI should be for all. It's really important that this is not just something for a few, but actually provides value and benefits to everyone. And as one part in really promoting this, a sister foundation to the Knut and Alice Wallenberg Foundation called the Marianne and Marcus Wallenberg Foundation has started a program called WASP-HS, which stands for WASP, Humanities and Society. So this is really a parallel research program to study and to do research in social sciences, humanities, law, and so on, about how to understand and minimize the risks and the challenges when it comes to AI and autonomous systems, and of course to promote and improve the benefits and use of AI and autonomous systems. So some areas of interest are, for example, ethics in autonomous systems, economy and autonomous systems. What about legal aspects, social consequences, and so on and so forth. So this is then a parallel program that started last year, and that will also be running for 10 years. And just to give you an example, some flavor of the projects that we have here, I highlighted one that is the emergence of complex intelligence systems in the future of management. So this is a project hosted by Linköping University, which is a joint endeavor between researchers Nicolette Lacquemond at Linköping University and Gunnar Holmberg, who is also an adjunct professor at Linköping University, but has his main employment at Saab. So this is really about how do we build and manage the construction of these future systems. Personally, I'm involved in the third one there, AI transparency and consumer trust. So this is also very interesting because it's all about, from a consumer perspective, what do we require from our AI-based systems in order to trust them? And what are our kind of expectations of trust? And how do we actually realize this in a technically grounded manner? So I've now presented the WASP program, the WASP-HS program. I wanted to highlight a few other things that I think are very important and complementary to these initiatives. Actually, Anders already kind of mentioned this one. So this was part of the national initiative on education and competence called AI Competence for Sweden that was started in 2018. So basically the government was funding a number of universities to make education available to a broader range of people, especially professionals working either in industry or in the public sector, public and private sector, and with the goal of really how can we increase the competitiveness of Sweden, but also how can we increase the quality of welfare. So it's really this AI for good and AI for all, and of course we need both the public and the private sector to achieve that. As part of this, we also have brought a course called AI Elements of AI to Sweden. So this was originally a Finnish initiative developed by Helsinki University with the goal of educating everyone in the basics of AI. And Linköping University is the academic partner, and we started in May last year. And now 1 year later, well, a little bit more than 1 year later, we have about 30,000 people who have started this course, and we have more than 2,000 who have taken out the university credits for this course. There's also, you can get university credits for doing this massive open online course. And that I think is a great initiative to make AI more available to everyone and to start make people understand what it is and how does it influence me, and so on and so forth, which I think is really, really important. So my final slide, trying to put everything into context. So I'm trying to capture one part of this AI innovation, competence, and research in Sweden. So at the bottom of this slide, we have the universities. So in WASP, we have 7 universities that are involved. Those are the universities here at the bottom. And then we have WASP, which is really the large, long-term basic research funding program. And then we have a number of other programs on top. We have this AI Competence in Sweden for professional and lifelong learning. We have AI Innovation in Sweden, which just recently changed name to AI Sweden, which Anders mentioned, which is really this: how do we help companies and organizations to apply AI, to accelerate the use of AI in Sweden? And then I'm also part of a Vinnova-funded initiative called the AI Sustainability Center. So this is really about how do we, and this center is then has the vision and mission to help companies and organizations to use AI in an ethical and long-term sustainable manner. So how can we avoid pitfalls that may occur while we do this, and how do we make sure that we don't have bias or discriminate people and so on. It's really about achieving this AI for good vision that we all share. So to summarize, the WASP program is a major, mostly privately funded research program that will run until at least 2030 with a total budget of 5.5 billion Swedish kroners. With the goal of doing the basic research now in order to make sure that Sweden and Swedish industry are competitive in the future, so that we can provide the competence, the knowledge to companies and to the world, and achieving this vision of AI for good and also AI for all. Thank you very much.